Most men realize the truth about masturbation far too late, usually after it has quietly affected their body, mind, and dignity. Some only learn after a divorce, others after a frightening visit to the emergency room. But for many, the harm is visible, yet ignored. If you are over 60 and think you fully understand your body, think again. My name is Dr. James. I'm a board-certified specialist in men's health and sexual aging. For over 30 years, I've treated thousands of men from their 30s to their 90s. I've witnessed how misinformation, shame, and silence surrounding masturbation quietly drain men's energy, confidence, intimacy, and sometimes even their will to live. There are 4 specific masturbation habits, really 4 secrets, that most men over 60 never hear about until it's too late. These habits are simple and fixable, but rarely discussed. Yet, I have had 72-year-olds tell me, Dr. Bassan, if someone had told me this 30 years ago, my entire life would have been different. In the next few minutes, I will share these 4 powerful secrets, science-backed truths, not opinions, that could help you sleep better, increase your energy, protect your prostate, and even rekindle your spark in the bedroom. These are not gimmicks. They are real-life tools that have transformed the lives of my patients, men just like you. Don't miss the 4th secret. It's the one most doctors avoid, and the one that has saved marriages, reversed erectile dysfunction, and given older men a new sense of purpose. Stay with me. What you learn might surprise you and could save your sex life. Before we continue, if you find these life-changing insights valuable, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another tip tailored for men over 60. If this resonates, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. I read every response and aim to create content that truly serves you. Now, let's begin with the first truth, one that surprises nearly every man I've met. It's not about how often you masturbate, but why you do it, and what that reveals about your emotional health. This first secret is where most men go wrong, not because they are weak, but because no one ever taught them differently. Secret 1, it's not just a release, it's a mirror of your mind. I have spent over 3 decades talking to men of all ages, but one conversation keeps repeating with older men, in their 60s, 70s, even 80s. It usually begins with a chuckle or a bit of shame. Doc, I still do it now and then. I hope that's not weird at my age. What they don't expect is for me to lean in and ask, it's not weird, but tell me, why do you do it? That's when the room goes quiet. Most say the same thing, to fall asleep, to relieve stress, out of habit, or more often than they admit, to feel something, anything. Over time, I noticed a heartbreaking pattern. These weren't just physical habits, they were emotional lifelines. The first secret I wish every man knew decades ago is this. Masturbation is not just a physical release. It reflects your emotional state, your loneliness, your need for control, your inner unrest. It's not simply a sexual act, it's a message. And most men never learn how to read it. I once treated a patient named Thomas, a retired Marine in his early 70s. He told me he masturbated nearly every day, not because he was overly sexual, but because it was the only time he felt truly alive. That word, alive, hit me like a punch. Not lust, not boredom, survival. It made me realize how much pain, isolation, and unmet emotional needs men quietly carry. Thomas also told me, if someone had told me in my 40s how this one small habit would affect how I feel as a man later in life, I would have listened. I just didn't know. This is what this secret is about, knowing what no one told you and reclaiming your power. When masturbation is driven by emotional emptiness or shame, it can become compulsive, draining, and ultimately hollow. Here's the catch. It doesn't appear dangerous, no hangover, no bruises, no crash. But the damage is invisible, the slow erosion of joy, drive, and connection. I'm not here to tell you to stop. I'm here to help you understand why you do it and how to change your relationship with your body. If it's become a mechanical act, a way to pass time or avoid emotions, it might be time to pause and ask, what do I really need right now? Comfort, touch, intimacy, expression? When older men learn to approach this part of themselves with curiosity and compassion, not just urgency, they begin to heal. They reconnect with their bodies and, more importantly, with their inner lives. This awareness alone has brought many of my patients peace and even dignity. That's why I say, with full conviction, this is the secret every older man wishes he had known earlier. It could have saved them years of silent struggle, emotional confusion, and self-blame. But the body doesn't just reflect emotion, it stores it. And that leads us to the next secret, because what happens inside affects something most men rarely consider until it's too late: their prostate. If you're still with me and these insights resonate, comment the number 1 below so I know you're on this journey. Now let's continue with the second secret. Secret 2. The prostate tax of ignorance. If there's one thing I wish older men understood earlier, it's this: your prostate keeps score, and if you ignore it, you pay the price. I've seen too many men come into my office with symptoms they assumed were just part of aging: frequent nighttime urination, painful release, or that constant pressure that never fully goes away. But often, the root cause traces back decades to how they treated their sexual health, including masturbation. Many men think the prostate is just a gland doctors mention at a certain age. What they don't realize is how deeply it affects sexual rhythm, and how the frequency and mindfulness of ejaculation can influence its long-term health. It's not about guilt or control, it's about flow. Your prostate isn't meant to be neglected or overworked. It thrives on regular, moderate activity, not long droughts followed by intense sessions, nor compulsive overuse. I remember a patient named Carl, 68 years old, a retired trucker. He came after a scare: blood in urine, difficulty starting, discomfort during ejaculation. He feared cancer. Thankfully it wasn't, but his prostate was badly inflamed. When I asked about his habits, he said he'd gone years without releasing at all, then suddenly began often, hoping it would revive him. By then, his body was already reacting against him. The inflammation was a cry for balance, not extremes. Carl looked me in the eye and said, "Doc, no one ever told me this mattered. Not one person ever said I needed to pay attention." That moment stayed with me. He's not alone. Most men I treat with prostate issues were never told how their sexual habits, especially masturbation, could impact this small but powerful gland at the center of their well-being. What they wish they'd known is ejaculation is part of prostate health. It keeps things moving, flushes toxins, reduces inflammation, and may lower cancer risk. But it's not about numbers, it's about a rhythm that suits your body. 2 to 4 times a week, mindfully and without stress or shame, is beneficial. More risks irritation, less causes stagnation. The key is consistency, care, and listening to your body, not forcing or fixing. These are conversations I wish we had with younger men, not just those facing consequences. Even now, it's not too late. Awareness can shift choices. The prostate may be small, but it sends a big message: balance matters. Yet even with a healthy prostate, many men feel something slipping, harder to name: weaker erections, less sensation, or a subtle drop in confidence. That brings us to the third secret, involving a part of your body you likely never thought about, but should have been training for years. Secret 3. Your pelvic floor is aging, and no one told you. When I began practicing medicine, I didn't discuss this with male patients. It wasn't in textbooks and rarely mentioned. The pelvic floor was seen as a women's health topic. But after 30 years in men's health, I know this is one of the biggest blind spots in male aging, costing older men far more than they realize. Your pelvic floor is a group of muscles at your torso's base. These muscles control your bladder, bowels, erection strength, and orgasm intensity. Like all muscles, they weaken with age, especially if never trained or even known about. When biceps weaken, you get sore arms. When the pelvic floor weakens, you lose something deeper: confidence, control, and sometimes dignity. I recall Leonard, 74, a retired engineer. He came not for pain, but because something felt off. His erections were weaker, climax duller, and he noticed a small urine leak. He said, "Doc, I don't feel like myself anymore." That sentence stuck with me, not about health or strength, but identity. Tests showed his heart strong, testosterone stable, but pelvic floor weak. Years of sitting, stress clenching, and no guidance left those muscles barely working. No one told him that simple exercises like clenching and releasing those muscles, as women do with Kegels, could protect sexual and urinary health. What older men wish they'd known decades ago is that the pelvic floor plays a silent but central role in their manhood. It helps get and hold erections, control ejaculation, and empty the bladder fully. When weak, you lose strength, sensation, stamina, and satisfaction. The good news: it's never too late to strengthen it. Just a few minutes of focused practice daily can reverse leakage, improve erection quality, and restore control. Leonard did it. In 6 months, he went from feeling invisible to telling me, "I didn't think I'd feel that again, but I did." I wish every man in his 40s knew this. I wish more doctors talked openly about it, but knowing this can start real change. Still, there's one last piece most men overlook, something not about muscles, hormones, or glands. It's deeper, a force shaping how we relate to our bodies, partners, and ourselves. It may be the most important secret. If you're still here and finding value, type 1 below so I know you're with me. Let's continue. This next secret might change everything. Secret 4. Shame is the real disease, and it's killing intimacy. This is the hardest secret to discuss, not because it's complex, but because it's deeply human. Of all I've learned from patients, this haunts me most. Nearly every older man I've worked with wishes someone had spoken to them about it decades ago. Most of us grew up in a culture of silence. Sex was private, self-pleasure was shameful. Real men didn't talk about it, not with friends, partners, or doctors. So we carried guilt, secrecy, and fear alone. Over time, this silence became heavy. Shame. I treated Walter, 69, married for 45 years. He came not for physical pain, but emotional confusion. He masturbated a few times weekly, usually in secret, not from lack of love for his wife, but fear of her judgment. For decades, he carried this quiet burden, believing his natural needs were wrong or made him less of a man, less of a husband. With tears, he said, "I spent half my life feeling broken for something normal. That broke me." Walter's story isn't unique, it's too common. Shame isolates. It wedges between men and their partners, and even more painfully, between men and themselves. I've seen men withdraw in marriage, stop seeking intimacy, and avoid honest talks due to fear of judgment. But when shame lifts, and men start talking openly, maybe for the first time, something incredible happens. Relationships soften. Intimacy deepens. Men feel whole again, not because they changed, but because they stopped hiding. What older men wish they knew sooner. Masturbation isn't the enemy. Isolation, secrets, and silence are. When you respect your body and face your needs honestly, you gift yourself dignity. That dignity transforms how you connect with others. Walter told his wife everything. He feared rejection, but she leaned in. They talked openly about desires, distance, and hopes. Slowly, they reconnected emotionally and physically. He later said, "I thought it would break us. It saved us." This may be the most powerful secret. When men shed shame, they regain something many thought lost forever: connection. If you've read this far, I want to share one last message. Knowing these 4 secrets is only the start. The next step is turning knowledge into simple daily habits that change how you feel physically, emotionally, and spiritually. That's exactly where we're headed next. The best years of your manhood might still be ahead. If there's one truth I've learned from decades of honest talks with men, it's this: it's never too late to change how you feel in your own skin. These 4 secrets, understanding why you masturbate, protecting your prostate, strengthening your pelvic floor, and letting go of shame, are not just about sex. They're about reclaiming your relationship with your body, energy, and sense of self. I've seen men come in tired, withdrawn, convinced their best years were past. But once they learned these truths, things they should have known 40 years ago, something shifted. They sat taller, laughed more, and spoke about their bodies with curiosity instead of frustration. Some reconnected with partners, others found peace by understanding themselves. If you're still reading, it means you care, you're open, and no matter your age, part of you believes there's more to experience, feel, and become. You're right. Most of us weren't given a manual for aging as men. We were told to tough it out, stay silent, and figure it out alone. But you don't have to anymore. You don't have to carry that silence. Your body still speaks. Your needs still matter. With knowledge, compassion, and daily intention, you can write a new chapter, not marked by decline, but by growth, intimacy, clarity, and strength. This isn't the end of your manhood. For many, it's just the beginning. If this message spoke to you or reminded you of someone you care about, don't keep it to yourself. Share and comment below. Let me know what resonated, or simply type, "I'm ready," if you're committed to reclaiming your health and confidence. The conversation starts here, and you're not alone.